Hello and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your paleo teacher, Jen, and it's time for Fossil Friday. This is Eremotherium, the wandering ground sloth or the Pan-American ground sloth. It lived in southern North America, Central America, and northern South America from the Pliocene epoch about 5 million years ago to possibly the early Holocene epoch, which is our current epoch. It was first discovered in Skidway, Georgia in 1823 by fossil collectors J.P. Scriven, I'm not sure, and Joseph C. Haber or Habersham. It was described by Joseph Leidy in 1855, subsequently mistaken for Megatherium until 1948, when this dude, Franz Spillmann, recognized it for a new genus and named it Eremotherium. Now, because the rocks it's found in are so young, it's very difficult to find any information on formations that it's found in, because a lot of the stuff it's found in is just unconsolidated sediments, because it hasn't been buried long enough to be properly turned into rock yet, which is super wild to think about, because it means that these rocks are old enough to fossilize bone, but they're not old enough to really become proper rock, more than just a pile of sediment that's loosely associated. One of the largest localities is shown here above. It's out in Florida. It's a karst site, so that's limestone that has undergone dissolution, producing rugged landscapes filled with sinkholes, ridges, fissures, that kind of thing, and then filled with unconsolidated clay. So this used to be a Pleistocene lake. Eremotherium lived alongside very familiar animals in Florida, things like Trechemi platamarginata, which was a pond turtle, very much like red-eared sliders. Holmesina floridanus, which is a giant armadillo. Tapirus lundeliusi, which is a species of tapir. This is actually a genus that's still alive. It lived along some sort of undescribed species of chelydra, or snapping turtle. Erethizon poieri, which is a porcupine. And Amplibutio concordus, which is a type of eagle or hawk. In Brazil, it lived alongside things that are not so familiar. They're not really closely related to anything that's alive. Most of these are extinct. These ones would have been more Pliocene in age before it had migrated north. So it would have lived alongside things like Toxodon platensis, which is an extinct type of ungulate, Glyptotherium, which is a type of glyptodont, Panocthus, which was another type of glyptodont, as well as several types of armadillos. Eremotherium is part of the class Mammalia, the clade Eutheria, the superorder Xenarthra, the order Pleosa, the clade Megatheria, the family Megatheriidae, and the subfamily Megatheriinae. There are 2 species of Eremotherium. Those 2 species are E. eomigrans and E. laurelardi, associated with the different areas they're living in. Its closest living relative is actually the 3-toed sloth, but not the 2-toed sloth. That's actually in a different group. So 2-toed and 3-toed sloths are really not that closely related, funny enough. Eremotherium was massive. It was about 20 feet or 6 meters long, about 6.6 feet tall or 2 meters tall when it was just on all fours. But it could stand up to about 4 meters or 13 feet tall when it reared on its hind legs. And the most recent estimates have it weighing in at about 6,931 pounds or 3,144 kilograms. Big animal. Its skull measured about 25.6 inches or 65 centimeters in length and was close to 13 inches or 33 centimeters wide at the zygomatic arches. The zygomatic arches are the bones that go from the temples to around the eye socket and meet up with the upper jawbone or the maxilla. It had a shortened nasal bone, giving it a sort of truncated cone appearance to its face, and it had small, shallow eye sockets that sat slightly lower than its relatives. You'll also notice in this picture, teeth. The teeth of Eremotherium are large, rectangular, when viewed occlusally, which is along the chewing surface, and have a unique V-shaped valley in lateral view or side view. Both species have 5 upper and 4 lower teeth in each side of the jaw, with the upper and lower crowns interlocking along the V-shaped valleys in what was likely a shearing surface for processing leaves and small branches. Its vertebrae were pretty massively built, but also compressed anterior-posteriorly, so front to back. They were kind of squished. Intentionally, not because of tectonics or anything like that. That's just how they were built. So it kind of gave it a shortened look overall, especially in the tail. They have very robust limb bones, which makes sense because they had to have robust limb bones to carry their immense weight. The 2 species actually have a different number of digits on their hands, though, with E. eomigrans having 5 digits, as shown here, and E. laurellardi having only 3, which is not that wild when you think about the fact that its closest living relative is a 3-toed sloth. Eremotherium primarily moved on all 4s with its feet turned inward and its weight resting on its outer phalanges. This suggests it was pretty slow, which is a shocker. Who would have guessed that a sloth was a slow mover? Its hands were not properly shaped for digging, as was once thought by scientists, because they have huge claws on their hands, so it seemed likely that just like a not so distant relative, the giant anteater has giant claws that would rip into ground, but its fingers just have limited mobility, and so it just wasn't possible for it to have performed this endeavor. However, it was able to rear on its hind legs, and it could pull branches down with its hands. So this, along with its teeth and the animals it lived alongside, suggests that it lived in a mixed woodland forest, and it ate a wide variety of foliage. Many of the sites where Eremotherium has been found has had multiple individuals of this animal there, and so it's led to some debates about whether these animals lived in herds or if they just happened to all die in a similar place at different times. And because the rocks are so young, it's really hard to say one way or the other whether they all died there as a group together or if different individuals had died there at different times or had been swept in there or whatnot. So it's still up for debate whether they were into group living or not. Modern sloths are solitary, so it's possible these guys were too, but just because the modern ones are solitary doesn't mean these guys were too. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think they lived in groups, or do you think they were a solitary animal? Well, thanks for tuning in this week. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and make sure to tune in this Monday to learn about large igneous provinces. I'll fossilize you later.